Hello everyone, welcome back to another Tomato Sauce stream. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the tier lists made by the community, because for some reason everyone just started dropping their tier lists like all on the same day. So there's actually a handful to look through. This is something we typically do. We do like looking at what other members of the community are like saying is meta, seeing what they think is meta relevant, and it is quite interesting to go through, see the difference in opinion. Obviously, we're not going to like be bashing anyone's opinion, right? We're not here to like say our opinion's better and they're wrong. It's more of just like, it's good to have a conversation, right? I think that's always really exciting, a really interesting thing to do. So we're going to be doing that. After which we will be going into Reverse Masochist, where we have been doing like okay. I think we're at 12 losses at the moment. We do have that on the scene, so we're going to catch up with that when we do. Reverse Masochist, for anyone that doesn't know, if we do an exclamation mark, what is it? RRM? Should? Yeah, there we go. So Rush Reverse Masochist is a challenge run for Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel, Dawn of the Battle Royale. Let's go Rush, where I open packs until I have a legal deck. Must play through the game with said deck, only getting to open new packs when I lose. The objective is to get to the end of the game with as few losses as possible. And then we do have our current card list, which is kind of just haphazardly thrown together, but it is what it is. So the plan is to keep continuing on with that. Hopefully we can beat Zuijo today. That is going to be our objective. We should be quite close. I think we're currently walled off by Mitsuko again. So we're going to have to see if we can beat Mitsuko and then go on to Zuijo. But before we get into that, let's see what we have in the chat. So first, we have Luis Fernando. Welcome with the first. We have PTRG. Hello, PTRG. Welcome. We have Ninjetti Ursus. Always a pleasure, my friend. Welcome. We have Neo X Noah. Oh, I'm early. The tomato is still too fresh. I mean, that's what we like to see, right? We like to see people get here early. 11 minutes and still don't start. Well, we have had the exact same like opening, apart from we changed the animations, for 2 years at this point, right? So I think at this point, Louise, if you haven't kind of gotten on board with that, you're 2 years late to the argument, okay? We have Gelato Gaga. Hello. Welcome on in. But there isn't like any news to go over at the moment, right? There isn't any interesting Duel Link stuff happening. Obviously, we do currently have the KC Cup, so everything's kind of being a bit dominated by that. There has been like a new, or at least a couple of new, I think, like Rebecca, like FTKs going around. There's the one where you lock off all your opponent's board. We did talk about that last time. There is also a new one that I've seen, which is like you heal yourself by a ton and then you burn your opponent for like half the amount that you healed. That's like another FTK that's going around, which is a shame, because I think at the end of the day, what's probably going to happen is the Rebecca skill is going to get nerfed, which I think is a disappointment, because I think the Rebecca skill is really cool. And I think a lot of people really like it. Like on Twitter, I've been seeing a lot of people being like, oh yeah, I got the dual level max with like, you know, a standard Rebecca deck, not like an FTK variant. So I think it's a bit sad that it's getting all the hate. Again, it's warranted. It is warranted, but it is still a little bit sad. We have a human Portuguese dub fan. I have no idea what you tried to say, a human Portuguese dub fan, but obviously the bot didn't like it, whatever it was. But hello, welcome on in. But I guess we'll just hop straight in. I guess we're just gonna jump in and we're gonna take a look and see what's going on. So first things first, again, not really any news. The kind of news-ish thing, I guess, is that we are still ticking away until we get the, it's not Jump Fest, or I can't remember what it's called, but there's like the big Japanese expo where we might be getting some Yu-Gi-Oh news. So like that's kind of the exciting thing that we're kind of waiting for. But until then, I wanted to go and take a look at some of these tier lists. Mr. Fruit. Wait, it didn't like Mr. Fruit. That's interesting. But first things first, we'll take a look at the first tier list we're going to look at today. This is by Ra. So Ra is a quite respected member of the JP community. Ra was well known for always performing well on Cyburst. He was a Cyburst one-trick for a very long time. He has since joined like Rush Japan Purple. I want to say he was on Rush Japan Blue before he joined Rush Japan Purple. But like basically this guy is a guy who, he's not like new to making tier lists. Like he does make a tier list like every single set, but he is known for having tier list opinions that are divisive. Let's put it that way. So we're going to take a look and see what he's saying and kind of go from there. Are you going to speculate some decks that we'll get from this month's box? I mean, I can. I don't think it's gonna be necessarily productive, right? Because, all right, if we'll just take a quick look over here, right? If we go and take a look at the stuff we haven't got, like, there's still so much stuff that we haven't got that we could get anything, right? We could get the normal wind stuff. We haven't got that yet. We could get the sushi fairies. It's not going to be very good, but we could get it. The fire beast stuff we still don't have. Reptiles, but again, you would expect this to come with Yuga Goha, so I wouldn't expect to get this on its own. Arctork, which is the Kaizo deck, which is like the Worker Warrior deck. We still don't have that. I think Arctork was its Japanese name. It's called like CEO something instead. We still don't have the rest of the zombie support, so we don't have Stein, which is a bit disappointing. There's loads of fusion decks that have it at plants, dinosaurs, noodles, newsflash, ride across, talismanic fusions, chemical cure. We don't have any of that stuff yet. Like, there's still so much stuff we don't have that it's kind of just arbitrarily picking something, because we could get any of this, right? If it gets a skill, it might be okay. If it doesn't get a skill, it's all going to be useless, right? That's basically how it's going to come down. Red boot ahead of sevens makes perfect sense. I don't know why you would think that outside of it's a meme, but fair enough. Pyrofusion. I mean, yeah, I would love to see the Pyrofusion stuff come out, right? I don't think we're going to get the Manabu Pyrofusion stuff yet. We could get, like, some of it. I mean, we could realistically get all of it. But, like, I think a lot of the anime stuff, they want to come out when it's meant to. Which is why, in my opinion, it felt really, really weird that we got the Dark Galaxy Fusion and Light Galaxy Fusion as early as we did. We got that in, like, May, right? And, like, since then, we've got nothing that came even close to that, right? We've got... I mean, we're still missing all of, like, the bad Go Rush stuff, so that's basically all of this, right? Reptiles, the Dean Keto stuff, Heartless Hounds, Dark Fairies, Drilling Machines, the Jersey stuff, normal plants... All of this is basically garbage. Like, none of this is good without a busted skill. Then you get Wind Psychics. I guess we'll make this a little bit bigger. Make it a little bit easier to see. Wind Psychics has potential, especially with a skill, especially if it's attached to a character. Definitely has potential. But all of this is just bad. Like, just straight up bad. More maximum support, please. Maximums, though, like we said... when we predicted it might get announced at Worlds, which I guess was last month. It's like... I expect it to be kind of a big deal, right? Because in the anime, it's after a time skip. It's the start of a new series or a new arc in the anime, right? It's introducing a bunch of new characters all at once. All the old characters get aged up. So we get like teenage Yuhi, teenage Yuamu, right? So in my mind, it's an easy slam dunk to make a big deal out of that. Have, like, almost treat it like a world release, right? Because you could have a bunch of new characters all at once if you wanted. You don't have to give them all, like, a ton of new decks or anything, but you could. You could give alt skins to, like, Yuamu, alt skin to Yuhi. I don't know if you'd bother giving alt skins to anyone else, realistically. Because, right, you could do, like, the schoolgirl outfits for... like, for example, Asana. But Asana isn't in the game yet. Or Asuka. I can't remember which one's which. So I get confused between the two. We have Rarity Fangirl in the chat. Hello, Tomato and chat. Hello, hello, Rarity. We'll give an exclamation mark. Rarity in the chat. Always important to give shoutouts. Give me the rest of the Red Boot support. I mean, you could. Realistically. I wonder how much it would... benefit the Red Boot deck to get more of their support. I don't know if it would do a ton. Like, I guess it depends on which specific bits of support you gave them, right? I need B-Steam to be ultra consistent. It's never going to be ultra consistent, I don't feel, but you can definitely do stuff with it. Like, I think the best you could get for, in terms of, like, maximum support that's generic, is probably going to be... what's it called? Heavenly... the one that mills 3 and adds a 10 back. This one. Heavenly Invitation. This is probably the best you're going to get. I guess we'll make this bigger. So send the top 3 cards of it to the graveyard. Then if you have no monsters in your field, add 1 level 10 monster from your graveyard to your hand. This obviously just pairs unbelievably well with Heavenly Gift. So this is just like level 10 turbo. The only downside is... the way that you made the level 10 package consistent was by having at least 2 different level 10 playsets, right? So you want like 6 level 10s in the deck. You don't really want that in Duel Links, I feel, because you've got 10 less cards in the deck, so you don't really want to be playing like 6 level 10s. That's just kind of annoying. It's a bit cumbersome. I want to be optimistic, but it's just a mini, so it's frustrating. A box without a character. Well, that's the thing. You don't need a character to do any of this stuff, right? You don't need a character for normal wind, right? That's, I forget his name. One of the Yuga siblings. The speed duel guy. Oh, the speed duel. The turbo duel guy. Then we have Sushi Fairies. Again, Sushiko is not going to be a playable character, right? We all know this. It's not happening. Fire Beast, this is Nick. So Nick's not going to be a playable character. Reptiles, okay, that's probably attached to Yuga Goha. Arctork. Kaizo? Do we think Kaizo's going to be playable? I think I had Kaizo on, like, there's a chance. Like, there's a chance we get Kaizo playable. But it's not a great chance, I would say. Zombies, the guy that plays zombies is in one episode. We don't care about him, right? He's realistically not going to be a playable character. That could easily come out. Plant Fusion, we already have the first wave of plants, and they're not attached to anyone. They could release, like, Rinnosuke, or I think it's Rino in the English. Unfortunately, we have not disabled our sound settings, but fortunately when we muted, it did let us know, so we can sort that out. We'll go ahead and do that now, so that no more annoying sound effects come through. We've also just messed up the sheet as well, because we're just that good. No, stop it. Ah! There we go. We fixed it. We fixed it. Alright. Plant Fusion, again, they could give us Rons or Rhino, but I don't think it's going to matter too much realistically. They could release that without a character, right? Dinosaur Fusion. Like, are we getting Hunt? We already have his, like, ace monster, and he's not in the game, so we're not getting Hunt. Noodles, again, we don't need a character unlock for that. Newsflash, we're not getting... Oh, God, what is his name? The green-haired journalist guy. I used to know his name, but it is completely gone now. We're not getting him. Ride Across, this is just Yuga. Talismanic Fusion's not attached to anyone. Chemical Cure, again, we already have Roman, who's, like, the only character that would be attached to this, right? Humans, Ouijo, and Udius. I mean, yeah, you could do that. Absolutely could do that. I don't think... Because it's quite easy to come up with new alt arts for all the characters, right? So Manabu would be Doctor Study, or General Study, I think it's called. Like, that would be an easy slam dunk. I mean, we haven't got any of the Go Rush characters at the moment. Again, if we get Yuna and Rovian, they would just have their schoolgirl outfits. The only problem there is because everyone just basically has school outfits in the second half of the season. I feel like everyone's going to look a bit samey. I hope there will be some kind of campaign like the one with Gaia or a surprise character. And there absolutely could be. Like, again, Konami keep breaking convention again and again and again. So, like, although it's fun to try and look for patterns and work out what they're going to do, they do keep, like, doing things off script constantly, right? Hello, Jetstrong. Lightwave Dragon is the reason Blue Fang is at 3. Yes. It's primarily because it's a good stuff card, right? And obviously Lightwave is what enables it. The issue is that they become very generic when paired together. So now it becomes, does my skill let me play Blue Fang? Okay, now I can just put Lightwave in, and now I just have this, like, really, really strong combo. What's going on? Hello, PTRG. We're talking about what could be coming out in the next box that could be coming out. If we got the Plant Girl instead of a Go Rush character, I would be the only person happy. I mean, we could get the Plant Go Rush character, right? That could work, I guess. Although, Christ, I don't want a skill for LeBlanc. Like, I really don't want that. Wear chairs plus Jinzo. So, this is anime. This is only anime decks we're talking about. Because if it's a non-anime deck, it can come out whenever, right? So, chairs are up here. These are ones that we've missed, that we should definitely have by now. And then this was the Millennium Shield deck, which I don't even know if we call a deck. It was, again, one of the Goha siblings. Yeah, I think that because of that, we won't be getting the rest of the Red Boot support for a while. I think, though, you could tiptoe around it, right? You can give us all the Red Boot support without it. Because the other thing is, there is a... what's his name? It's a Transam. Where is he? The one that has a very similar effect. This one. Transamu Rainak War to Zen. So if you have another face-up light attribute monster with 1400 or less attack on your field, destroy one face-up monster with 1500 less attack on your opponent's field. So this is a card, again, that you would pair with Lightwave Dragon. So, like, it's not quite the same, but it's cool, right? Good morning, Mr. Tomato. Hello, Barox. Welcome on in. Because Light Galaxy and Dragon is a really good card for Red Boot, as well as Dragonic Process, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what does end up coming out of this, right? Because this is what I mean. When we're predicting what we think is going to be in the next box, I don't know, man. Like, I think all of this is going to be awful. Unless it comes out with, like, right, what here actually has potential to be good, right? What without a really disgustingly good skill, what here could be actually meta, right? Like, reptiles, realistically, no. Because I think they're going to get a disgusting skill, though. I think that's going to make them OP. Because right now, reptiles is basically Caliglion Turbo. And Caliglion is just gain 100 attack for every card in your graveyard, and that's it. But they do have things like Clawleon, which can give it piercing. So you can get, like, a big guy with piercing. And it's like, that's not really enough in the current metagame, right? That's a little bit power crept at this point. So it's like, it's going to need a broken skill. Arctork is going to need a broken skill. Zombies are going to need a broken skill. Plants? If we get all the traps, if we did have all the traps, is there a world in which Plant is actually good? I mean, maybe. The issue is they have some really good traps. On the flip side, their traps are not as good as Shiny Shady. On the flip side, one of their traps is really good at dealing with the battle phase, right? So, like, Shiny Shady is good because we can use it in reaction to our opponent's summons when they're going to try and pop it, right? So it's really good against Jointech, it's really good against Music Princess, it's kind of good against, like, heroes, right? Because they're all going to summon out effect monsters that are going to pop Shady. So Shady is bad against the normal monster spam deck. So we're thinking things like Baseball, we're thinking things like Miss Button, right? So because of that, having battle phase traps is good against specifically those two decks, but really bad against everything else. I'm trying to remember what the plant trap cards are called. They have, like, a naming convention, but I cannot for the life of me remember. I'm just going to look up some plant cards. That doesn't help me. I need... Oh, do they just have Shadow Flower in the name? Is that all it is? Maybe it is. Yeah, these are the two. So, Return is only on direct attack. And Stance is declares an attack targeting your face-up plant-type monster. Place 2 plant-type monsters from your grave on the bottom of your deck. Change all attack position monsters you put for defense position. So this is a good trap. But this only works against, like, Miss Mutton. And this is a good trap. But again, this is only probably going to work against, like, Baseball. So it's like, in the current metagame, if these cards just came out, I mean, Music Princess is going to eat them alive. Jointech is going to eat them alive. There's not like a ton of room for, like, stuff to work here. Anything could be in the next box at this point. Exactly. It's good to know, like, what could be in there, but, like, there's so many different options, it's really hard to narrow it down. Random prediction, the box is going to have Neos. Neos. The issue I have with Neos coming out is releasing Neos pre-Contact Fusion just feels really off. Like, I don't think they wouldn't do it. I just think it's unlikely they would do it, right? Because people are going to get a hold of Neos and be like, oh, I can play Neospatians. It's going to be great. I'm going to have such a fun time. And then it's going to be like, Well, no, because we haven't given you any of your contact fusions, right? Is Neos good? Neos is good. Neos is... There's like 2 different hero decks that are reasonably powerful. One of which uses Neos just because it's a 2500 guy that you can summon off of Secret Order. You can also send it back into your deck using New Start. So it's just really good for those reasons. And it gains a power boost from Skyscraper. And by releasing Neos, you then unlock Skyscraper. Because Skyscraper can't come out because it has a little line of text on it saying Elemental Hero Neos. And the way that Duel Links work is they don't release a card that references another card unless that other card is in the game already, right? And so you want heroes? I don't, but it's such a Konami move to get nostalgia bait and rush right before a tournament. Or something like Blue Eyes. I mean, there's tons of stuff they could do, right? They could do Red Eyes support. They could do Blue Eyes support. They could do Magnet Warriors. Because, like, Magnet Warriors is a really strong deck. But if you give us, like, Magnet Warriors but without the, like, Magna Wings. Or Magnet Warriors with only 1 copy of Magna Wings. That deck's actually not that disgusting. Like, we've already seen that Magnet Warriors pure isn't actually that great, right? Like, most people are finding success by mixing Magnet Warriors with something else. So, like, I think Magnet Warriors is a great deck to throw in because it's not Contact Fusion, but it's close, right? So it's like you know, this is kind of what Contact Fusion is going to be like. It's a fan favorite deck because I think just everyone likes Magnet Warriors. And it's reasonably powerful without being, like, disgustingly overpowered, right? What I want is Flash Memory Fusion with Ultraviolet. I mean, they could. Ultraviolet is a weird card, though. So if we get up... How do you spell it? Is it even called Ultraviolet? I know the one we're talking about. It might just not be in here. Is it a high dragon or a dragon? We'll just wait for this to finish loading. We'll come back to that. Dinosaur Fusion is not going to be good, right? Realistically, it's just not good. Let's type Violet. This one. Violet Scale, Enhanced Blast Dragon. This is the one that you want. Like, it's okay. So in, like, OCG, this is not a very good card. Because it's just, you have to fuse together 2 big monsters, which again, you cheat them out, right? So you don't actually have to, like, tribute both of them out or anything. You get this out relatively easily. But its effect is very, like, It's like, oh, I'll do a bit of damage to my opponent, and that's kind of it. Like, it doesn't have piercing, it doesn't have multi-attack, it doesn't destroy anything on the field. In terms of, like, a modern-day boss monster, this is kind of ass. But again, that's why it could work well in Duel Links, because that's the whole point, right? The cards that weren't very good in OCG, we could release them earlier, and then they become actually relatively okay. No protection? Yep, this has just got nothing. It's just continuous effect. So, it's a continuous effect, right? So it gains your opponent's attack. So, like, that's not awful, right? On your opponent's turn, this guy's still going to be big, right? Will we get the Mii-chan support? I don't think so. Again, I doubt we'll get the max, because they're going to wait to do, like, a big max push. Plus, the Mii-chan maximum is actually kind of good. It's just hard to summon. And with 10 less cards in the deck, it will be a lot better. So I don't think we're going to get that. And the fusion stuff is also, like, it's bad for, like, modern standards. But for Duel Links standards, it's actually not that bad. Right? Being able to go into those cards. And again, don't forget, we will have a skill with it. I doubt they'd give all those cards to us without a skill. No protection, where's trap protection? I mean, not everything has trap protection. Yeah, flash memory, it's just a wall. Dies to widespread still. I mean, it does. But, who's playing widespread? Right? Like, if anything, this is going to get hit by a compulse, right? But yeah, dinosaurs... dinosaurs are just not going to be good. Like, we would have to... The only way to make dinosaur remotely good is they'd need a skill. you'd have to give us the new Ritzy King Rex that just came out. This one. Commanding Ritzy King Rex. And then maybe it becomes playable. So the big issue we have with this deck is you have to play Upstart Goblin, right? If you don't play Upstart Goblin, the deck isn't doing what it's meant to do. Upstart Goblin is garbage and takes up your legend slot. So you're not playing Pot of Greed, right? You're not playing Hammer Shot. You're not playing any of like the good legend spells that you potentially could, which again, by the time this comes out, that could include Dark Hole, that could include Monster Reborn. You're not playing any of these powerhouse spells because you have to play Upstart Goblin for the deck to work. And it's like, Chupitar unlock? I doubt it somehow. I would expect just a Archive skill. I faced 2 players in a row on ladder with widespread. Yeah, but ladder is nothing, right? Who cares about ladder? Ladder is literally a playground, right? There's literally like children running around. And then it's like people go, oh, I got like an 8 streak on ladder. And it's like, yeah, you beat up some children. It's like, ladder doesn't matter. I hate to tell you this. Ladder's just, it's nothing. It's completely irrelevant. Yeah, Violet is quite literally the definition of big asshole. I mean, yeah. I mean, and sometimes big asshole is fun. Right? You know what I want. What do you want, Soromir? Let us know. Tell everyone what you want. I'm very invested in your opinion. Everyone and their mother is on Trap Hole right now. Yeah, Trap Hole is extremely popular. Oh, there's an ad break. Well, time to hydrate. If I got to pick, It's a tricky one. So if I got to pick, what would I want? So the question becomes, what do I actually want? Because there's stuff I like, right? Decks that I just enjoy playing. But if I just got all the decks I wanted, they would be so powerful that they might just dwarf everything else and make the meta horrible. And then if we're stuck in that for like a month or two, that means I've effectively, because of my wants, I've like killed the meta, and I don't want that. I mean, my obvious one is I really want Secret Investigators, or as they're now called Agents. That's what I want. I think Secret Agents are so good. I want that deck so bad. I really like the art on the cards. I really like the effects of the cards. I think, what's her new name? It was Snake Princess of Purity, but now she's got a new name. It's something Princess of Purity. Python Princess of Purity. I really, really like the card. It's one of my favorite cards in design-wise. So, like, I mean, out of, like, right, if we're going for, like, the bad stuff, I would love dinosaurs to be meta. I would love dinosaurs to be meta. I would just play them all the time. Noodles, I have a massive soft spot for Noodles. I think the deck was always really, really cool. There was a player I used to play against a lot on EDO that was a Noodle one-trick. And he made that deck look so powerful far past the time it had any right to do anything. So I think Noodles is still a really, really cool deck. Ridercross is another deck I would love to see come out. Because again, I've always been a big fan of Ridercross. I think the old Ridercross skill is still really fun. And it made the deck really enjoyable to play. It just didn't have the power it needed to like do anything important. Now, Soromir, I'm not going to read that aloud. But I respect your opinion. People will only quit Trap Hole if they release XQE. Maybe. I think it depends, right? At the end of the day, Trap Hole is really good right now because it's really good into some very specific decks. But, like, if you're playing against Music Princess all the time, why would you not be on Compulse, right? Trap Hole is just worse than Compulse against Music Princess, straight up. I want Dark Galaxy. Well, more. Yeah, I would also love to get more Dark Galaxy. I would love to get the rest of the Dark Galaxy stuff. The problem is Dark Galaxy, one is going to be like somewhat story locked, right? They're going to wait until like it's sort of appropriate to bring them out. As well as some of the cards in Dark Galaxy are really good. I mean, you saw what happened when they gave us Dark Hole Device, we were like, this is going to break the game. And then, guess what? It kind of broke the game. Now, it didn't break the game in the sense that it became like the most overpowered thing ever, but it did break the game in the fact that nobody really liked playing against it, and it turned a lot of games into coin flips. And people went, I don't like this. So it's really hard to find the correct place to balance it. Now, that being said, we do now have Compulse. We do now have Shiny Shady, right? So we do have tools so we don't just necessarily die to Dark Hole Device, right? Because Dark Galaxy also has it's not an issue, but it has a thing where they don't really have a good secret order target. The downside there is you can just put Light Galaxy monsters in there and have secret order target, so it just can play like baseball in a weird way. So it's like, yeah. I want magnets. I think magnets would be cool. I would cry for Chaos Galaxy. Chaos Galaxy is a really strange deck because I think it should come out early, right? Now, that being said, they did give us Light and Dark Galaxy fusions very early. So they could just give it to us early. There's no reason they couldn't. They could do whatever they want. But I also think it's going to need a good skill as well. I don't think it needs like a completely busted skill, but it needs a skill to give it a little bit of help. Because the deck, unfortunately, is very reliant on, like, you've got to get the graveyard set up. You've got to make sure you've got the right cards in hand. You've got to make sure you see the right monsters in play. And then you go through, you spin all these plates, and you get out these very cumbersome boss monsters that have quite steep requirements to get all their shit off. And they all want you to have, like, a bunch of different types and stuff going on. And it's just very, like, ugh. Timeout Soramia? Why would we time out Soramia? What's Soramia even saying? Execute because I can't play Compulse. I want Monarch in the TCG field spell. You just want you want Domain that just like mills and lets you get attack boost on your Monarchs. I mean, I think that would maybe be fine. Chrysaor then won Worlds by having its effects activate and OTK. So the issue there isn't Chrysaor so much as its Tearfing, and specifically the Tearfing skill. I think the major issue we have with the Tearfing OTK is that it's so consistent, because you can just build your deck to basically be like, what, Pot of Greed, Tearfing, 28 monsters. You're always going to land Chrysaor's effect 3 times. You always have access to the Tearfing spell, so you're just always able to get this combo off almost every game, almost without fail, right? So it's just like, in my mind, I like that it was a thing. If it was still winning tournaments like now, I would be like the first person to be like, we should just get rid of this, because it's like, it's too much, right? Yeah, Domain gives Monarch 800 attack, plus locks the opponent out of the extra deck. The TCG field spell. Light Galaxy fusion so early, Udius got no voice lines. Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. But again, it did make the Worlds format more interesting, in my opinion. I think seeing Light Galaxy that early was exciting. The problem was, it's made everything since feel a bit like... Is that it? Right? Because although it's like slipped down the tier list, right? It's no longer performing as well as it was. A lot of the other decks just don't play as well or as fun as Light Galaxy. And I think that's a bit of a disappointment. I think the one that's come closest is probably Music Princess. Because that deck's got like a lot going on. It's quite a fun deck to play. There's quite a lot of interesting lines that you can go down. I think Join Tech is very fun. But Join Tech without the skill would be complete garbage. Whereas I think Music Princess without the skill would still be a playable deck. Just because Ballet is that strong, right? Chaos Oblivion is my favorite rush card, so I will die if we get it. I mean, that's... You know, I think Chaos Oblivion's a pretty cool card. Let's go and take a look at it quick, right? Why not? Oh yeah, we were talking about dinosaur fusions. Yeah, commanding Ritzy King Rex is like necessary for the deck to do anything. Hyper Upstart King Rex is so bad. Like, this guy goes up to 35, and then if you have Upstart Goblin in your graveyard, you can add a spell from your graveyard to your hand. But again, what spell are you adding when you have to have Upstart Goblin, so there's no legend spell? So it's not like we're going to grab a Dark Hole, a Monster Reborn. We're not grabbing a Pot of Greed, right? So it's like, it's kind of whatever. So Galactica, Chaos, Oblivion, made using Galactica, Oblivion, and Voidveil Requiem. Continuous effect. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay, it's got protection built in. And it gains attack equal to the number of Galaxy-type normal monsters in your graveyard times 300. So this is typically going to be about somewhere between like 5,000 and 8,000, depending on what period of the game we're in. If your opponent has no spell traps on the field, this card gains 1,500 attack. So it's a big ball of attack that has protection built in. So this is pretty good. But we still have Compulse right now, right? So we can just get rid of this. So right now, this card feels like it would come down to you need a trap card to deal with it, or you're probably just going to have a bad time, right? But if you have Shady, that'll work just as well. Flip it down, sitting at 2,500 defense, just attack over it. Players had taste of the combos. Now the fountain is dry. I mean, that's going to be true for any format, though, right? Like, it's one of those things where when cards are out long enough, people will just get bored of them. That is just an unfortunate truth. It is what it is. It's not the best thing in the world, but so when you're playing physically, right? When you have a physical deck, you're taking it to your tournaments. You're only playing like in tournaments, like maximum like once a week, right? So if you're doing that, you don't get as bored of the meta as quick. When you're playing an online game, especially a mobile game, which you can play literally whenever you want, you're constantly queuing up. You're constantly entering tournaments. You're constantly playing with the cards. So they will have a shorter expiration date in terms of keeping you engaged, right? So because of that, it's very difficult to find the right balance. Because right now, we're getting products about once a month, right? We had 30 days between that. We had 28 days between that. We had 35 days. For like 49 days, this was quite a long gap. And that was after an 18 and a 52, right? So 52 and 49, these are like the outliers. Obviously, so is Eternal Galaxy Road, which came out as a mini box, right? 18 days after Infinite Grand Crush. But typically at the moment, we're getting a box every month. And I think a month feels about right for a digital card game, especially a mobile game, where after about a month, that's when we're getting like, you know, we had the first week was exciting. That was like everyone experimenting. And then it's 3 weeks of like the same thing again and again and again and again. So when we do get to that month period, I think that's when we want to like shake things up. Because we're already at 15 days, right? So another 15 days, we should have a new product, right? Theoretically. I love Chaos Oblivion card art and what it represents. The card designer said it was meant to be a perfect half and half, representing fighting as equals. The symbolism of it for Udius and Zuijo is great. I mean, let's take a look at the card art. Let's get a good look at it. I don't know. I don't actually like the card art specifically. Like, when it was in the show, like, when it was like a 3D model of it rendered, I thought it looked pretty good. I think this looks a bit busy, right? There's, like, it's not, at a glance, easy to tell what's going on. Obviously, we have, like, an arm here that's outstretched. We have another arm over here. I don't know what this is. It's, like, a floating weapon is what it looks like. Like, it's kind of not easy to tell. We don't have legs, I think. I think these are, like, the floating devices that it has instead of legs. Then we've got the different shoulders and wings, which are obviously, you know, color-coded. We have the gold one and we have the silver one. Obviously representing Voidveil and representing Transam, or Galactica, I suppose. So, like, again, this art specifically, I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't hate this art by any means. I think it's just very busy. There's a lot going on. It's not easy to like tell what's going on. When it's like a 3D render, like in the show, I think it looks fine. But this specifically, plus the effect is nice. Yeah, the effect is definitely nicer than a lot of other just big bungus attack guys. I'll tell you that much. It does. A month was always okay. Source John Yowie. Hello, Monosync. We're definitely going to give an exclamation mark mono in the chat. We've got to give a shout out to my boy. A month with less than 10 cards in a very low bar. 2+ months with the possibilities of only 30+ new cards for a digital card game is not good. So, All right. I for the most part, I agree. For the most part, I do agree with you. But for me, it's never really been the quantity of cards so much as the quality, right? As long as the meta shifts, then I'm fine with it. If they release one card, but that one card shakes up the meta, then that's fine. The issue I have is when a set comes out and nothing changes, because at that point, why did we release a set? Nothing has changed. You've done zero work, right? On the flip side, if it hinders the meta, if it makes the meta worse, then I'm like, okay, I don't mind the meta being a little bit worse, as long as we fix it at the next opportunity. So an argument right now would be, this meta right now is worse than the last meta. So we'll go ahead and make this a little bit smaller so I can actually work with what I've got here. So the previous meta was this, right? This is a healthy looking pie chart. So the meta we have now, like by most metrics, is worse than the meta we just came from. But I don't mind that because it's shaken the meta up. Now, if we have another product in, let's say, 2 weeks, and that also leaves us with Music Princess and Join Tech being very big standouts over every other deck, that is when I have an issue. Because I'm now like, you've given us a worse meta, and now you've kept us in this meta, which is a bad thing, right? So, again, I'm not saying you're wrong by any stretch, because I also agree. I do personally like having more cards. More cards is more fun. It gives you more things to build with, more things to cook with, more things to play with. In general, it is better. But for me, the priority is always going to be good meta and shaking up meta, right? That's always what I'm going to look for. It's a twin sword that can separate into 2 swords. The design sheet looked really neat. I mean, that's what I also like. I really love seeing like the concept art. I think the concept art looks absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm fine with less cards, but there's no big changes to the skills either when skills decide everything. Well, we did get some big changes to the skills in the middle of this meta, right? Because we got the Join Tech got buffed and then suddenly became the best deck in the game. At least it was. It's kind of not looking like it is at the moment. And Light Galaxy got hit, even though it was kind of already 1 foot in the grave, it then started slipping even more. So, like, there were skill hits, and they were significant. It's just they weren't, like, exciting, I suppose. You can't have Animagica counter Monarchs suddenly, like in the OCG. Yes. We do have some of that, right? Like, I think a lot of people would argue that Music Princess does counter Join Tech. And there are, like, some other small interactions. I wouldn't necessarily call them, like, counters, though. It's things like... The main issue I have with counters, specifically in Duel Links, is it's less about, like, this archetype counters this archetype, and more about this back row counters this deck. And we've had that a couple of times, where you've been like, okay, against deck A, I need this legend trap, and I need this other trap. But then you're like, but against deck B, both of these are useless, so I just swap them out for something completely different. And then it just becomes, you can't have it both ways, right? It's just which legend are you playing? So it's just a meta call on what you're going to face the most, and then you just run with that. So that is like the most that we tend to see with like countering decks, which is like really lame, because ideally you want a rock paper scissors format. You want deck A beats deck B beats deck C, and deck C beats deck A, because that way they all moderate each other. Very rarely do we have that in Duel Links, or at least in Rush Duel Links. What we usually have is deck A is better than deck B and C. And that's kind of where it ends. Like, usually that's just kind of how it ends up, which is not ideal, if we're being honest. The main problem with Rush products, specifically Deck Build Box, is not the quantity of new cards, but Konami putting way too many R&N reprints in the box just to fill it up. I mean, they're never going to stop doing that, is the issue. They're literally never going to stop that. And it sucks, right? It really does suck. I don't like that, right? I don't like feeling like I have to basically throw a chunk of gems away to get the stuff I want. At the same time, if they do release a deck build, I only need to spend a maximum of 7.5k, whereas if they release a mini, that's going to be like 12.5, so I am saving like 5k gems. But like, it's not good... What's the word I'm looking for? It's not consistent. It's not efficient. I'm sure there's a better word for this, but it's not efficient to spend that many gems on so few cards. And it just feels really bad. Which is why, again, I really like Super Minis. Because Super Minis, it's a whole bunch of new stuff, but you still get less cards. So if they wanted to give us less, give us Super Minis, right? That's what I want. But I think, again, they realised, oh, they don't have to give us Super Minis because people will just pay. People will just throw gems at it to get the reprints they don't want. And it's like, okay. Super Minis would be great. Yeah, I love both of the Super Minis we got. It's such a shame they just stopped doing them. Where were we with this as well? Noodles. Noodles actually could be a good deck. The downside is, I think if they give us the noodle support, they're going to slap a bunch of limits on it. I think Meat Spice immediately becomes limit 3, so that you can't play 3 copies of Extra Spice, 3 copies of Meat Spice. I think they literally are going to be like, no, we want you playing 2 copies of Extra Spice, 1 copy of Meat Spice. I wouldn't be surprised if they put some sort of limit on Miso Instant as well. Not even because the card is like crazy strong, just because they don't want noodles to be good. Because it's like, right, burn, right, summon Extra Spice, burn you. Summon out Meat Spice, burn you again. Summon out Miso Instant. Okay, this guy's going to go up to 35 and piercing, so that's now 2,000 damage, and then we're also going to hit with a 35 piercing, which is like already quite a lot, especially if you have low defense value. So like, part of me thinks they're not going to let that slide as well. I think these cards should have been out by now, but I think after the Noodle Burn deck did quite well, they have kind of pivoted on that, and they're like, oh, actually, maybe we don't release the Noodle Fusions just yet. Newsflash is an interesting one. Let's go ahead and get that up. So, Newsflash, the Journalistic Juggernaut. This card was debuted in a duel against Yuga Gohar, if I remember correctly. So send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Your opponent excavates the top 7 cards of the deck. Your opponent places the excavated cards on top of the deck in any order. You can make all face-up monsters on your opponent's field lose attack equal to the number of excavated monsters times 500. So most of the time, this just reads, make all your opponent's monsters have 0 attack. Which is pretty good, but if we don't have a skill to get Printing Presser out easier, this becomes a 5-card combo to get out a 2900 guy that just, like, wipes one guy off your opponent's board. So it's like... I went in both the newest deck builds and not the mini because I thought I didn't have enough gems for it. So I guess Konami is making the right strategy. I mean, it makes sense, right? Hello, Gunkin Suship Shari. I probably got less and paid more gems, so you can all blame me if we get another deck build. I mean, we've been joking about the hat trick, but the hat trick is a very real possibility. The Ride-Across Fusion. This actually came up yesterday or the day before yesterday, I think, when we were talking about potential decks that we could get. Because we were talking about, I think, a structure deck coming out as well. Like, what could be in the structure. Ride-Across is... This ever loads. Okay. So we already have Hero of the Dawn. Hero of the Dawn, not very good. Then there's Hero of the Dusk, which is shuffle 2 warriors and or spellcast type monsters from your graveyard into the deck. Special summon level 6 warrior or spellcast type monster from your hand. Also really bad. This one is okay, but still not, like, good, right? So we have to make these using Ride-Across and Dark Sorcerer. So once again, if we don't have a way to get a plus, or we don't have a way to cheat out the Ride-Across, this is a 5-card combo, right? So it's normal summon, tribute both, summon out Ride-Across, summon out Dark Sorcerer, activate Fusion. So 5-card combo to get this guy out. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Okay, that's good. This card gains attack equal to the number of monsters on the field times 300. So that's going to cap out at 1800. So that's not awful. Or look at all face down spell traps on your opponent's field and destroy one of them. Now, this is sort of worse Ashura Star. Right? To make this, we have to invest 2 more cards than we have to get into Ashura Star. It has the same attack points as Ashura Star. It has the same requirement as Ashura Star. One of its effects boosts its attack. Obviously, we don't have to have our opponent on warriors, so that's one benefit. And then the other effect pops a face down card, but it's only spell traps, not monsters, but we do get to look at them, right? So it's like, in my mind, it's kind of worse Ashura Star. Now, it's not quite that black and white, but most of the time I'd rather have Ashura Star than this. So it's like, what do we do with this to actually make it playable? I don't know, man. Like, I mean, it's going to be playable regardless. The question is, like, it needs a skill. It needs a skill. What kind of skill is it going to get? Talismanic fusions are kind of whatever. And then we still don't have Chemical Cure. Chemical Cure as well has always been like a fan favorite deck. It's never been like a crazy strong deck, but like the deck's principle is fun. So for anyone that doesn't know, the gist of the deck is that you have to play blue medicine and red medicine, and then you just spam gain life points. So send the top card of it into the graveyard, gain 400 life points. Okay, gain 400. Then if you have any number of blue medicine in your graveyard, add them to your hand, right? So you can just add 3 blue medicine back to your hand, activate, activate, activate. Then we have Chemical Cure red. If your opponent's a monster on the field, send top card of deck to the graveyard, gain 500 life points. Then you can add any number of red medicine from your graveyard to your hand. So again, fill up our graveyard with red medicine, summon these out, ideally multiple times a turn. We're activating like 6 copies of red medicine each turn, right? Then there's Chemical Cure purple, which is the fusion. Send up to 3 spell traps from your hand to the graveyard. So ideally, you know, we're going to have lots of medicines in our hand. Draw cards equal to the number you sent to the graveyard to meet the requirement, and then gain 900 life points. So again, we gain a lot of value by adding those cards to our hand, and then we can discard them and replace them with actual cards from our deck. So just really, really good. We still don't have these cards, right? Realistically, what is Chemical Cure purple going to do in the current metagame? Like, realistically, what is it going to do? We got the bed chemical card bad? Best chemical card before all its cards, that being Shiny Shady. I mean, yes, it is. So it's the artwork of the card, yeah. What if they gave it the Fire Princess skill-like effect? Yeah, but then that's a burn deck, and we had one like coherent burn deck in Rush, and they murdered it. So do you really think they're gonna want to give us another burn deck? I mean, maybe, but I'm not gonna hedge my bets on that. Let's put it that way. I mean, what does that then leave? Like, reptiles, the normal reptile stuff, the only thing worth a damn in this archetype is going to be the trap cards. Other than that, it's kind of whatever. D and Keto, I mean, basically, we're only really missing one important card from this deck. And that is going to be Cure Maiden itself. So if you have a face-up field spell on your field, draw 1 card, show it. If it's a field spell, gain 1,000 life points. So this is basically just, instead of discarding a card to use the old D and Keto, we're now drawing a card. So we're plussing instead of minusing. But again, we have to have a field spell out. But the field spell you play is one that boosts the attack of your Aqua monsters by 200 and reduces the attack of non-Aquas. So it's sort of a 400 boost, if you think about it like that. No, the attack gain skill for the... Yeah, that has a similar issue, though, where you're just going to kind of OTK your opponent. But I do get what you're saying, though. We only had one burn deck in Rush. High Tech. Well, High Tech is like... How often does High Tech win with burn? Typically, it's like, I'm going to burn you for a chunk, and then I'm going to attack you for most of it, right? Sea Serpents. I respect that we're bringing up Sea Serpents. I do respect that we're bringing up Sea Serpents. Heartless Hound is another deck we don't have yet. And again, Heartless Hound is... It's a similar deck to... Like, the closest thing to this deck is, like, Worms. Where the whole gimmick of the deck is that it just summons out a load of big bodies. So you get out Shiba. Shiba's effect lets you special summon a level 5 to 7 Beast Warrior from your graveyard. So off of him, you summon out Drynu. Drynu's effect, if it's the turn that you summoned it, you can special summon a level 6 or lower Beast Warrior type normal monster. So the idea is, you just spin down into whatever, get out Heartless Hound, Master Shiba. Shiba brings back Drynu, and then Drynu's effect brings back a level 6, which typically is like Nekogal. But, like, if you're staying in archetype, it would be, like, Kaiken Knuckle. More often than you think, Volcano Dragon when? Never! I like Worms, but yeah. Yeah, again, this deck, it can't be defense monsters, right? We don't have piercing, we don't have any way to pop our opponent's back row, we don't have any way to change their battle positions. So this needs a skill to do one of those things, right? The skill needs to let us get damage past set 3, otherwise it's not even really worth talking about. Dark Fairy is actually an interesting one. Let's look at them quickly. The issue Dark Fairy has is the cards just individually are never that great. So obviously if we get Zarato's pretty cool, right? Destroy all monsters on your opponent's field. Yeah, that's pretty good. Then you get Metal Position. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, send one other face-up Dark Attribute Fairy type monster from your field to the graveyard. Change one face-down monster on your opponent's field to face-up defense position. Then inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. So this is a way to beat set 3, but this is a really shit way to beat set 3. Because we're burning our opponent based on the attack of their face-down defense position monsters. So, like, in some situations, this could be really good. A lot of the time, this is going to be like, I flip up a guy and burn you for like 1,000. And it's like, neat. That's not doing a ton. Bocce meta coming. I would love to have Bocce be meta, but I don't think it's going to happen. We're not going to talk about the love stuff because that's a whole other can of worms. This is the other, like, primary boss monster for the deck, Watchman of the Apocalypse. So this is a continuous effect, and this came out back when continuous effects weren't, like, as prevalent. This is, like, one of the first big ones. But if your opponent has 6 or more monsters in their graveyard, this card gains 500 attack, cannot be destroyed by the effects of your opponent's level 8 or lower monsters. So this was just a 3k attack guy, and at the time, this guy wasn't even bad. Like, he wasn't great. I'm not going to try and oversell it, but like, just having a 3k guy that was a bit awkward to out sometimes was just good enough. Where was the other good one? This is the other good one, if I recall correctly. Dire Needle, send this face-up card from your field to the graveyard, choose a Dark Attribute Fairy type monster, it gains piercing. So, it's not fantastic, right? But it's sort of a Pierce spell card on a body. So if you have any ways to, like, resurrect your monsters or shuffle them back into your deck, you always have access to just having Pierce all the time, which is just really, really good. So, like, that's kind of the deck. There's not really much more to it than that. Which, like, I mean, isn't the best deck in the world, but it could come out. It could come out. What does that leave? Drilling Machines is another weird one. Actually, this is one that we could get, right? So I don't remember if it's spelled exactly Track Tiger or Tracked Tiger or something. Right. Earth. Machine. Drilling Track Tiger. Okay, it's a T. That's what we got wrong. So this card is if you have Pierce, Powerful Pierce, or Straight Pierce in your graveyard. Bear in mind, we now have Straight Pierce, right? Send one card from your hand to the graveyard, add Pierce, Powerful Pierce, or Straight Pierce from your graveyard to your hand. So, it's not, like, the most exciting card, but this is, like, a weird Pierce deck, I guess? This was in, like, I think one episode of Go Rush. It wasn't super great, but, like, I mean, give this a skill. This could come out, right? What does that leave? Jersey, and obviously everyone should know the Jersey cards. Normal plants are just awful. Like, they're actually so bad. This is actually going to need a really, really good skill to be played. But again, out of that, then it starts getting into, like, the weird cards, right? We still don't have Zero Gargius. We don't have the other two Prima Fusions. We don't have Umbra Lancer F. We don't have Hunter of Titans. We don't have Sports Dragon Kickbase, which is the fusion monster for the Sports Dragons. We're also getting to the point where we should be getting up to this stuff. So, Neanderstar Cats. This, theoretically, should have come out before Light Galaxy Fusion. The Lug stuff, then you get to, like, the post-Lug stuff, right? Tazaki used this yet? Yeah, exactly. I like Zero Gears. Zero Gears is cool, but, like, when are they going to release the cards? Like, I don't think Zero Gears is going to be, like, busted or anything. They just still haven't given it to us. But yeah, so that's... And that ended up being quite a long overview. But there's a lot of, like, cards that we could get. And they could give us, like, any of this. Like, what's unlikely? We're probably not getting the reptiles without Yuga Goha, right? I don't know if they would give us Mitsuko as a character. Because, alright, it's not unheard of to have roaming duelists become characters. That is not, like... It's not like it's impossible for her to become a character. But would they bother giving that to us with the normal reptiles? Part of me is like, you could just release, when they do give us Yuga Goha, just put all of the Mitsuko normal reptile stuff in a box that comes out at the same time. And then just be like, look, the reptile stuff. Would Trans Samu Road Rhynak be support for 7s or Light Galaxy? I think... Alright, I'm not super sure. But I think when the cards did come out, I want to say this didn't see much play. So the problem this card had, like when it came out initially, was like there were just so many better cards to go into than this. But its effect is that you can special summon a Galaxy type normal monster from your graveyard face up to your field, so that's going to be like a Rhynak, or, you know, if you're playing this in Galaxy, which would be a lot harder because then you have to like slot in a 7's Road Magician, you could bring back like Oblivion, right? Then you can make all face-up Galaxy type monsters on your field gain attack equal to the number of different attributes in both players' graveyard times 300. So this card specifically is written in a way that it wouldn't work very well in Light Galaxy, because Light Galaxy is going to be playing just lights and then have like 7's Road Magician, and it's not easy to like slot a 7's Road Magician into a deck, where it is very easy to slot a Trans Sam Rhynak into a deck. So I would say this is 7's Road support more than anything. Still waiting for the Beast Gear field spell. At this point, we're gonna get the other one instead. What's it called? Apocalypse. At this rate, we might actually get the second wave Beast Gear support before we get Beast Gear World. So this is when this card is face up in the field zone, face up Earth and Dark attribute Beast Warrior type monsters with 1600 or more original attack on the field, gain 400 attack and defense, and cannot be destroyed by card effects. Now, the reason this card is so good is because it works on both players' card effects. So you can Dark Hole the board while you've got Beast Overwhelmed up, and your board will be safe, which is so good, right? They're so good. Not giving us Mitsuko was a big mistake. I see what you've done there. I see what you've done there. I'm not going to acknowledge it, but I am going to... Well, I have acknowledged it. I'm not going to address it. But yeah, like I was saying, they could give us any of this stuff. Like, they could literally give us any of this stuff. So it's like, what are they going to give? I don't know. If we're asking what character I think we're going to get next, I think it would make sense. I really like Dylan's opinion, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything. I really like Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything's opinion. That they could do the double event unlock of Rovian and Yuna. I don't... Like, the question only becomes, is it too early for full power Celebros? Considering we already have, like, Battle Ballet, I don't think it's even that early for Celebros. I think Celebros could just come out. Just give them, like, a really mid skill, and don't give them, like, a really broken skill. And then just have them come out and it'd be fine. I think that'd be good. And then give Wind Psychic an actual broken skill, because that deck needs it. And then that would be my idea for the next character unlock. Then straight after that, you go into the Luke. Right? Now, the only thing I think that throws a thorn in that is we could get Yuga Goha. Because these reptiles, they got to come out at some point. We can't just keep avoiding the reptiles forever. So it's like, maybe that happens instead. Alright. No Mania? I think it's so unlikely we get Mania. Like, if anything, my first thought when we got the alt styles, I can't remember what they're called, but you know what we're talking about, was that they could do that for all of the 7's characters that have a Go Rush counterpart. So it's like they play a very similar deck. They don't need like a new character for that. They could just do an alt style and then do that. But that doesn't work because they have two different worlds, right? So you can't have a 7's character puts on an alt style and becomes a Go Rush character. Like, it doesn't work like that. What if they don't release the Loop Fusion in the first box since it's not in the anime? The Loop Fusion. Oh, you mean release them without Luxury Magicians? I mean, you could. The question then becomes, what does the deck actually do? Because that's like the biggest play the deck makes. I always forget what the other fusion even does. Send one card from your hand to the graveyard, destroy one face-up monster. No, this is fine. You could just you could just do Fabulous Magician Turbo as the entire deck. I think that would be fine. I'd be a bit sad, because obviously I really like Luxury Magicians, and I like all the combos you can do with it, but I think if you're worried about it being overpowered, then yeah, just give us Fabulous on its own. I love this deck so much, by the way. It's such a fun deck to play. It's actually such a fun deck to play. Alright, but let's get back into tier list content. This is what we were talking about, like, almost an hour ago. Before we got derailed. So, This is Ra's tier list. We did mention this before, but Ra is a competitive player over in Japan. Ra was known for playing Cyber, so he was a bit of a one-trick for a long time, and then he joined and played in, I believe, both of the leagues. So he did both Rushdol Coliseum and Rushdol Dynasty. So, let's see what he's saying. So for him, there is no S-tier deck. So S-tier, I think we consider S-tier like tier 0, right? It's like absolute best deck, without a doubt, super unbelievably powerful. So nothing in tier 0, that's fine, right? So this would be like tier 1. So then we have Join Tech plus Music Princess. I mean, nothing too surprising there. Heroes and full Matarian, or I guess just Matarian. Matarian, I think you could make an argument for Matarian being in tier 1. I think that's fine. I personally don't have it there, and I definitely wouldn't have it above Music Princess, but I can see the argument. The deck is really good. It has some really powerful plays, and it's really good into warrior decks. And especially if you value Heroes as being this good right now, and you value Music Princess being this good right now, and we're also valuing Baseball probably a little bit higher than it should as well. If we're valuing that, just by osmosis, the power level of an anti-warrior deck rises, right? So because of that, I think this does logically make sense. I'm not sure about Heroes. So Japan don't do very many tournaments at the moment. The big one that they do is every week they do Now's tournament, which that's kind of it. And they don't have any leagues going on at the moment. So the data from this, I imagine, is mostly being pulled from like ladder play and internal testing. So with that in mind, maybe Heroes are doing a lot better, like in his circle. But like personally, Heroes hasn't been doing very well for us. I mean, if we go and take a look, I mean, Hero, it's seeing play, but it's not topping. It's just not making it to top cut. Like literally in the current format, we haven't seen it at all. And in the last format, I mean, Hero was doing okay last format. We got, you know, some wins. It got like a second place finish. It was definitely like around. It was like, what, the 4th best deck? So I could see it. I don't think it's like would be here. I think the highest I would have Hero is here though, personally. And anti-spellcaster as well. It is, the issue is, if you put the anti-spellcaster stuff in, all of that stuff is practically useless against non-spellcasters. So like, it's a really weird balance where it's like, if you're playing on ladder, you should expect to play against spellcasters, so the value of the deck should increase. If you're not playing in ladder, which again, like we say, they don't really have any big point battles going on at the moment. They don't really have any big tournaments going on at the moment. They just have the one. And there's no Rushdol Coliseum. There's no, like, leagues going on at the moment. Again, if the data is coming from ladder and your mace is playing against spellcasters, you'd put the spellcasters in, right? Who invited Yami Ruler? Bro thinks he and his floodgates are on the tier list. You know, he's down here hanging out with the floodgate bro. So my personal opinion is I would drop Heroes down at least 1 tier. At least 1. This could stay in A, but like it would have to be at the very tail end of A. But realistically, it's probably B. Then you get down to B. I don't think inherently there is anything wrong with Baseball. I think Baseball was fine. Baseball is a strong deck. It's able to play through a lot of things. Again, this deck has always had the problem of it loses to Slime and it loses to Negate Attack. If it's not like exactly those two, this deck's pretty fine. The backup strategy of the deck, which is like your Groundra into, or is it Grand Slam? That's it, not Groundra. Grand Slam into Utopia, or home run hitter, it's good if your opponent isn't ready for it. Because the issue is, this deck is always going to have the problem of most people are going to be playing Shiny Shady, and there's not a lot to Shiny Shady in this deck. So theoretically, you're always going to Shiny Shady the Grand Slam, right? And if you're doing that, that backup strategy is now irrelevant. So it's like, that's the issue I have with it. The only other problem is sometimes you just don't get the cards you need, right? Although the skill can sort you out a lot of the time, sometimes you just won't find, for example, the Dragonic Pressure. If you just don't have Dragonic Pressure, you just can't really do anything. Other than that, I think this deck is fine. I could see this being a tier 2 deck, right, for sure. Now, this is where this deck falls apart. Because in a lot of ways, this deck is sort of similar to Baseball. Both decks want to try and OTK your opponent. Both players, or both decks want to enact their combo, their one big play, end the game on that turn. The strength of Baseball, and by extension Miss Mutton, is they can play through Shady, right? That is the big strength of those decks. The problem Red Boot has is it loses to Shady 100% of the time and just can't do anything about that. If your opponent has a Shady, you are not OTKing them. Like, full stop. There is nothing else to talk about. So because people are playing, like we say, Trap Hole, which Trap Hole's not as useful against this deck because, again, you can use the Striping Wyvern to special summon, and then you go into a fusion play, and then it doesn't matter if your opponent's a Trap Hole. But this does also lose really hard to Compulse. And Compulse should be seeing a bit more play if Music Princess is seeing more play. So in a tournament environment, because we're seeing Music Princess doing so well, you would expect, if it's still on the rise, if it overtakes Jointech as being the most dominant deck in the game, that the number of compulsory evacuation device seeing play would also rise, which means this deck's like value drops dramatically. Because now if everyone's playing like 4 cards that basically tell you you're not winning the game, in fact, I'm gonna like heal off you, and I'm gonna basically try and kill you on the follow-up, it's not a great look. So for me, this deck would definitely not be tier 2. I could see it as a tier 3. If I'm being generous, I could see this as a tier 3 deck. It's a deck that, if it catches you off guard, if you don't have the back row ready to deal with it, if you've teched so heavily for like the Jointech matchup and you're not ready for it, then it can absolutely punish you. So I don't think I would say this is like, you know, just a rogue, like has to stay in rogue. But I don't think this is a tier 2 deck, personally. No way Red Boot is better than Sevens. Red Boot is not B. Royal Rebel is D. Red Boot basically dies for 1 Shady. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically what we just said, right? Red Boot being this high is a crime, and it's above Light Galaxy. I could see it being on the same tier as Light Galaxy. I could definitely see that. But the thing you have to remember is, Red Boot hasn't done a lot recently, but last set, it did manage to sneak a 2nd place finish, right? Surrounded by Jointech players, it was like, I'm getting that 2nd place. I'm going to sneak in there and just get it off here. But again, if the stars align, if people aren't ready for the matchup, if people haven't got the techs to deal with it, it can just kind of sneak games. But I think that's why I consider it a rogue deck, because in some matchups it does really well, in the majority not so much, right? That's how I look at the deck anyway. This list is, again, we're not trying to like criticize the list, we're trying to dissect it, right? Because I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, you know, we don't like Ra's list, he bad at making a list, right? That's not very productive. What is productive is to try and understand why he made the decisions he made and why we disagree or agree with them, right? Because again, it's all about having a conversation, not about like being super judgmental. Light Galaxy is fine to be C. Red Boot is C. That's what I would have it personally. Red Boot has no placements this set because I haven't been playing. Well, that's what we need then. J-Strong, you need to come back in. You need to get back into the tournament scene. You need to start getting wins with Red Boot. That's what we need to see. We need the return of the Red Boot. They red booted me in the semis. Oh no, that's not ideal. Then we have Sevens. All right, so for me, I would bump Sevens to the top of B. I don't know why this is at the bottom of B. Part of me thinks that, again, if we are being influenced by the ladder in a heavy way, there are a lot of really bad Sevens players on the ladder. There are a lot of players that play this deck wrong. Which you would think, the deck's been out for like 5 months. The deck is not overly complicated to play, realistically. And people should have like had it ingrained into them, the plays to make. And yet still, people misplay with this deck a lot. And I think that's just down to popularity. If there is just so many people, there's such a high quantity of people playing the deck, there will be kind of an even distribution of people that know how to play it really well and people that don't know how to play it really well. And sometimes you'll just get matched up with people that just don't know the deck. And, like, we saw that even when we were playing the Miss Mutton deck, that we were like, why are these Sevens players making some of these very, very suspect plays? Unfortunately, that's just going to happen, right? And it's less, I think, about the deck being bad and more about the average player playing the deck maybe isn't up to par, right? Sevens Hero and Matarian are almost the same level. Both are B, in my opinion. People are tired to play with Sevens too. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, though, there are more people that look at it as, I can play Sevens and get an easy cog, than people that say, I'm bored of Sevens, I don't want to play anymore. Like, maybe from a tournament perspective, but from a ladder perspective, I think people are still just so many people on Sevens, right? But again, we're going to take a look at the tournament results. Like, Sevens are still here. Like, it's not, like, disappeared. It's still around. And it did get a tournament win, thanks to Pro. Pro champion in the deck did manage to pilot it to a win. It's just, it's not anywhere near as good as it once was, right? At least at the moment. Then we get to C tier. We have Light Galaxy. So Light Galaxy is basically tier 3. This is where I have Light Galaxy, so like I'm quite inclined to agree with that. The deck has fallen off a little bit. The deck still seems to have a lot of plays it can make, but the overall game plan just doesn't seem as solid as it once was. And I think a big part of that is Shady. Also, I finally decided on a new list for Red Boot. Ooh. Well, part of me wants you to keep it to yourself and enter a tournament. And then, like, surprise everyone with it, right? Includes Luster Dragon for very good reason. Ooh, okay. You've piqued my interest at the very least. Sevens is the perfect beginner deck. It almost always gets a turn 2/3 and teach basic combo for any graveyard setup. It's strong enough to beat a bunch of decks, but struggles against the newest top tiers. I respect it in that way. Yes, I agree as well. I also think the deck's just very fun. Like, just making Charmy and doing like Charmy combos is fun. 5-headed dragon. Royal Rebel is D. I personally think it is a bit weird to have this deck and this deck in the same tier as Light Galaxy. I think that is a bit weird. Royal Rebel can win games, right? It can do quite well. It has done okay. The issue this deck is always going to have is it is so reliant on sticking bosses, right? If your opponent has Trap Hole, if your opponent has Compulse you can sort of play around, but sometimes you just can't. If your opponent has Shiny Shady, there are so many ways to just stop Royal Rebels from doing what they want to do that the deck quite often ends up feeling rather weak or hamstrung in a way where it can't actually execute any of its plan. And I think because of that, I couldn't have this above Rogue. Like, again, you can win with this deck. You can take games off of any of the decks in the other tiers with this deck, if they've got nothing to interrupt you, and if you have a really good hand. If you don't have, like, a solid hand, and your opponent has any sort of interruption, you're not doing anything. The deck's just going to fall apart, unfortunately, which is really sad. Maybe I cut the Poly Dedge. The deck is just bad. I mean, I wouldn't even say the deck is bad. I think, again, it can take wins off the other decks. It's just, how often is it going to do that? Realistically, I think it takes wins between like 15 and 20% of the time, which is just not good enough numbers, realistically. V-Friends is even doing something. All right. I will always be the biggest champion of the V-Friend deck. I think the V-Friend deck, if you get really lucky, right? If you get custom hands, it beats every other deck. It is actually insane the amount of value you can get with this deck. The problem is, that's not going to happen, right? You're not going to get custom hands every game, so it's just not going to work. The biggest issue this deck has is twofold. First off, you have to play a crap ton of high-level monsters, which means if you go first, you can't activate your skill on the first turn. So if you go first, open a handful of high-level monsters, you pass the turn with a handful of cards, you've already lost the game. The other issue is, every card in this deck has like 0 defense. So any deck that can change your battle position and just pierce over you is going to absolutely eat you alive. That actually happened. I think I was against Bisma in a tournament, and he just changed me to defense with Trombo, and then just boosted up to 6k piercing and just attacked over and OTK'd me. I was like, I didn't even get to play the game. And it sucks when that happens, but the problem is, that isn't a problem you can fix. That is just an issue fundamentally with the cards themselves, which is a big, big no-no in this meta especially. So for me, this deck has a lot of capability. It has a lot of